Hello, friends. This reflection is for the 29th Sunday of Ordinary Time. Hard to believe we're approaching the 30s, yeah? I can't believe it either. Anywho, so in the readings today, we hear the theme of persistence. In the Gospel of Luke, happy belated feast day, by the way, Jesus talks about the parable of the necessity to pray always without being weary, as the Gospel opens. He talks about a widow who continues to be pessimistic about a ruling that the judge has to cast in regards to her adversary. The judge was unwilling, but eventually he thought, even though he's dishonest, but the God was secure, as Christ would tell us. So what does it mean to be persistent? Persistent can be defined as to be obstinate in the pursuit of something that seems to be difficult. In the case of the widow, she kept pestering a judge to make a ruling against her adversary. Probably an enemy. Probably somebody that's been causing her problems over the years. Maybe somebody has been going after her for money. Who knows? We do not know the whole story. But we do hear some amazing and powerful, provoking parables in the Gospel of Luke. As is pointed out, while it's true that neither fear God nor respect any human being, because this widow keeps bothering me, I shall deliver a just decision for her, lest she finally come and strike me. And Christ reminds us, pay attention to what the dishonest judge says. Will not God then secure the rights of his chosen ones who call out to him day and night? Let's face it, Jesus is in favor of us being persistent in prayer. We can look no further than the example of St. Monica, who prayed fervently for her son Augustine to walk away from the life of sin and death, and a lifestyle that was only for his own self-gratification. In St. Paul's letter to Timothy, St. Paul writes, I charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and dead, and by his appearing in his kingly power, proclaim the word, be persistent, whether it is convenient or inconvenient. Convince, reprimand, encourage through all patience and teaching. So again, persistence. When was the last time we were ever persistent when we wanted something? And let's face it, when we were toddlers, we had to be persistent with our parents if we wanted to get that toy or whatever the hot thing is out nowadays, right? And there are times where I was persistent with my parents. I couldn't even stop. And the only way for me to be satisfied is to get what I wanted. But here, in the spiritual sense, there are times where we have to be persistent in things that are coming about in our spiritual lives. And believe me, there is so much. Whether it be that job we always wanted, that boy or girl that asks you out on a date, or ask them out, or say yes to your proposal for a date, no, not wedding, that is, or maybe to do well in our studies. Wherever the case is, Christ encourages us to be persistent. Persistent prayer will unlock wonders, even if the odds are against you. In the first reading that we hear for Sunday from the book of Exodus, which takes place following the Israelites going back into the Promised Land, and we hear the account of a war against Israel. Amalek was leading, and of course Joshua was appointed as a commander. And Moses goes on top of the hill with his staff, and with Aaron and her, he promised that as long as my arms are up, we will have the favor of the battle. Now, there was a time where Moses, his arms grew tired, because if your arms are outstretched long enough, they could wear out, right? But because of the help of Aaron and her, Moses kept his arms up. And eventually, Joshua brought about the victory for God. I think there comes a time for us in our spiritual lives where, it's hard for us to take no. And let's face it, God does hear our prayers. Sometimes he can answer them right away. Often you have to continue to pray. In the case of St. Monica, she prayed day and night for her son, Augustine. Somebody watching this video right now may have a prodigal child who fell away from the faith and are engaged into something that is going to create a deeper hole in their lives. And they're hungry, and eventually they're going to be hungry and thirsty for God. And let's face it, God thirsts for you too. And he hungers for you to be on the right path. So as we reflect for the 29th week of Ordinary Time, he encourages us to imitate the persistent woman, to keep bothering the judge. In our case, there are times when we have to bother God. Maybe we're in a dire situation. Somebody is watching this video and maybe in a dire need. Turn to him. Run to him. Nag God. And believe me, he will hear your prayers. All it takes is your persistence. Be persistent, but fervently pray for what your heart desires. And pray to God for that answer. God bless.